One of the biggest group of five matchups in week 8 is UNLV at Boise State. Boise State is a 10.5 point favorite, and that's crazy because UNLV is 6-0. Boise State already has 2 losses. They're sitting at 4-2, which honestly, we talked about how that could be a possibility. UNLV has been kind of playing with its food and is kind of lucky in a way to be 6-0. This is a big time matchup for the Rebels, and they have to show that they can be a better team than what we've seen so far. This is a team that has put up points, but they've also struggled to keep teams off the scoreboard. They're averaging 38.2 points per game on offense. The defense is nearly allowing 30 points per game. Doing that against Boise State is a quick way to lose this game in a heartbeat. So, how do you do that? It's going to be on the defense, but let's start with the offense. Anthony Calandria has been, I think, a really, really good player for this team. He's been the right fit for this offense and has performed pretty well for Dan Mullen. Over 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I think he's been really fun as a runner as well. 64 carries for 323 yards and 3 scores. Jaden Thomas has been the pretty much the steady force for this offense, especially when things have not gone well consistently. 72 carries for 577 yards. He averages 8 yards per carry and 6 touchdowns. Now, the passing attack has kind of taken off a little bit as of recently. Jaden Bradley, 28 catches for 493 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has been a bright spot for this team and a consistent bright spot for this offense. That is something you have to hone in on. How are you able to move the ball against this defense? Because teams have moved the ball against Boise State. That has not been a question about if you can do that. It's a matter of how you do that. And so far, this UNLV team has shown that, hey, we can be explosive at times too, and we can move the ball down the field, but this is probably going to be the best defense they've faced this year. That presents a new challenge that you have not prepared for, and that's going to make things very interesting for this game because Boise State is ready to shut down that undefeated season for UNLV, and it's going to be interesting to see how UNLV recovers, especially if Boise State shuts down their first couple of drives. What are they going to do to bounce back? Do they have counters to whatever Boise State is running on defense? Now, for UNLV, how do you stop anybody? Right now, this is a group that has a lot of guys that can make plays, but how do you make more disruptive plays? When you look at their tackles for loss and sacks, you don't see a ton of consistent players. In fact, a lot of the guys that have tackles for loss are defensive backs. So you're using some of these guys in a little bit more of a capacity than you maybe wanted to. You also have, when you look at it, you have 4 of your top 5 tacklers are all in the defensive backfield. You don't necessarily want that if you want to have an elite defense. That being said, there are opportunities for them to be able to hang in this game and make things closer. You look at what they've been able to do. Amaris Brown, Marcel McDuffie combined for 6 interceptions so far this year. They have been, I think, bright spots in a defense that has lacked some at times. And if you're going to keep this game close with Boise State, turnovers are the quickest way to do that. You have an offense that can move the ball. You have an offense that can be explosive. But do you have the defense that can be opportunistic enough where it makes a difference in the game? That's going to be a big question. For Boise State, pretty much just taking care of the football is going to get the job done. I think this offense has enough to just move the ball consistently. And as long as Maddox Madsen isn't throwing a ton of picks, they should be just fine. Madsen has been all right this year, over 1,500 yards, 11 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Again, taking care of the football is going to be the biggest thing to keep UNLV at bay because this is a defense that can cause some problems for UNLV's offense. And this is an offense that, as long as they don't beat themselves, they should be just fine. The rushing attack has been by committee, which is very different, obviously, than last year with Ashton Genty. Dylan Riley's been a nice emergence for this rushing attack. Sire Gaines and Malik Sherrod have done exactly what we expected them to do. They've combined for 10 total touchdowns, or 10 rushing touchdowns between the 3 of them, and it gives teams a lot of things to worry about. Now, Sherrod is a little bit more of that Swiss Army knife that's going to do a lot of things in the offense. He's also going to do things in the return game. So that's another element that could give Boise State the advantage. The passing attack, we've kind of seen some new faces step up. Chris Marshall has been explosive. 19 catches for 344 yards. That's 18.1 yards per catch and 1 touchdown. Ben Ford leads the team with 5 touchdown receptions. Latrell Capels has done exactly what we thought he would do. I'd like to see Matt Lauder involved in the offense a little bit more. I'd like to see him featured. Maybe this is the game to do that, especially against a defense that has shown that it can give up quite a bit of yardage and quite a few points. Now, their defense is going to have to find ways to create turnovers. And so far this year, they've been okay at that, but you'd like to see them do that a little bit more. You'd also like to see them continue to be disruptive. This is a group that can get to UNLV by being disruptive, by getting into the backfield. Their defensive line has done a good job of that. Jaden Virgin Morgan has been solid so far. Braxton Feely has been good as well, and that's going to help this secondary. You're going to have explosive players for UNLV. How do you limit the damage that they can do? How do you limit the explosive plays? Those are going to be big questions that have to be answered, and Boise State has the talent to do it. Being physical up front, continue playing with the energy you have on defense is going to be enough to give them the win. Boise State is going to win this game. I think that this has been a UNLV team that's just getting by, and now they're going to run into a team that can actually compete with them, and it can actually force them into tough situations and turn the ball over and also score points on them. Boise State, to me, wins this game and ends UNLV's undefeated season.